Now we're joined by a Boston legend of himself. Maybe not quite to the status of Bill Russell, Matty P. I don't want to put that pressure on you. First training camp here, and just missed one last year.
Yep.
So back. So a year off.
Yep.
You had spring ball, which is a little bit different, obviously, than the NFL. But now we've got a goal. We've got an objective. How does it feel to be out here today?
Yeah, just great. I mean, sun's coming up. The fields are ready to go. It's all quiet out there right now, but we know here in a little while it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of energy. I'm just excited to get out on the grass, and try to get a little bit better here today. We got great guys. Our guys have been working hard. I feel it's different in college, right? I feel like they just go all the time.
Yeah.
They just came out of the summer, did a great job with the summer workouts. Coach Mick does an unbelievable job with them, and they're ready to go. So I just feel like we're just rolling into another phase of practice and kind of moving forward. So,
Matt, what has surprised you in a positive way? Like when you first took the job and then started doing this, like you thought, I didn't expect this to be so good. Or something. Is there something that surprised you about when you came into this job?
I kind of never really put expectations on it, but I'll say this. I mean, the guys here are unbelievable. Our players are just tremendous, not only football players, but just young men. To go in the room and stand in front of them every single day is just such a privilege to coach and teach. Their eyes are wide. They're taking notes. They're excited to be there. They have great energy. The biggest surprise to me is probably just they're just young. They're just younger guys, but they are intense and professional about the game, which is awesome. And then just building that relationship outside of the game has been so much fun. They're just a couple years older than my son, and a lot of these guys are, they're asking the same questions that just, young guys ask. So I just enjoy that so much. It's just such a great atmosphere and environment to be around.
So, what's interesting with this is everybody has a little bit different way of doing it, but you were able to come here for spring. You do, your basic install, get a lot of stuff in the spring. Then now, the last couple of years, they've instituted kind of the OTAs. You were around doing that. Do you go back all the way to square one and then start maybe an accelerated progression, or how does this install start here on this first day?
Yeah, we really finished up OTAs kind of previewing what we would start with for camp, because we know the camp schedule is going to go quick. We're up early. We're going to have quick meetings in the morning, hit the field running, and be right into individual and fundamental stuff. So I wanted to kind of give them a preview before we kind of just went right into training camp. So it was almost like we pushed as far as we could with the install and then stopped and then went back and kind of started over just to make sure that we started off camp fast and aggressive from that standpoint. So it's been good. That's why I said I kind of feel like, hey, we're just kind of moving forward. It's just the next phase of another practice.
So I'm sure you're familiar with how Ohio State's defense the last few years. I'm curious, your scheme, your schematic, your strategy, has it differed? Is it a lot different than what was here last year and the couple of years before that?
Well, I think obviously great year last year, so we got to build on it.
Fans are going to tell you got to do better this year.
Yeah, always. That's always the goal. That's always
yes.
Listen, Bill Russell, 11 in 13 years. Can you imagine that? That kind of pressure was unbelievable. 7 against the Lakers. What a great rivalry that the Celtics-Lakers is. So, we're always trying to improve, and we got a bunch of young guys, a bunch of new guys are going to be on the field that have to kind of step up into roles. We lost 8 to the draft and on defense, so bringing in that next group, super talented guys ready to get on the field and prove themselves. So we want to keep as much same as we can, so there's continuity, with the unit and with the stuff that's on the field. Maybe just a little bit different, kind of like Bobby said in my meetings before, a little bit different teaching style, maybe just a little bit more conceptual, but the same sort of look.
So I've talked to people before. There's always kind of two different types of coaches that you've seen. It kind of goes offensively and defensively in the same way, where some coaches have their scheme. They find as many players they can to fit in exactly what they do. And then conversely, a little bit maybe more on your end where, hey, here's the ingredients we have. What can we do to best kind of allocate the resources to make sure these guys are going to be put in the best position to have success? Coming out of spring, did you feel like you had a good feel for kind of what the guys can do and being able to build this structure around maybe some of the strengths of this defense now?
Yeah, you nailed it. I think my job as a coach is really to try to figure out what do those guys do well, how do I put them in position to do what they do well on the field so that they can play fast and aggressive, because then they're going to be productive. And if they're productive, then we'll be good on defense. So it was a lot of time through the course of the spring, even just watching them in the weight room, seeing how they lift, how they run through the conditioning program, and trying to evaluate what are their strengths as an athlete. And then when we get on the field, and what do they do well on the field, communication, and obviously football IQ is a big part of it too. But that's really been important for me is it's not hey, here's the scheme, and everyone's got to fit into the scheme, otherwise you can't play. It's like, hey, what do you do well, and how do I get you to do that on the field so you can go play? Let's create jobs for everybody. Let's get as many guys on the field as we can. That's the fun of football to me.
Bob, I remember when Digger Phelps used to do on TV, he always had his highlighter matched his tie. Like his highlighter game was strong. I think Matt's pencil game is strong, too. He's got the red pencil there. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but I really appreciate that. If there's something, Matt, you can look at and point to and say, if our defense does this well, we're going to be successful. Is there like one, like kind of a, I guess, a keynote type thing? You say, we got to do this really well, and we'll be successful.
Well, we're kind of on a fundamentals train right now as you start the first day of practice, so it's hard not to think about tackling. It's hard not to think about, pressuring the ball, trying to turn the ball over, and just good fundamentals in general, defeating blocks. That's where we got to start. I know if we don't do those things well, we're not going to be very successful. You have to be able to tackle. You have to be able to get the ball down. You have to be able to defeat blocks in the run game, and certainly we want to turn the ball over. We know the turnover ratio is so important in the game, so that's where we're going to start.
Your relationship with Tim Walton coming in here, I know a long time back you guys were at Syracuse together, kind of shared vision of how you think this works and how the relationships and the duties and all of that have kind of been integrated together.
Yeah, Timmy's great. And really one of the main reasons I'm here, my relationship with Coach Day and then my relationship with Tim and just having an opportunity to get back and work with him. I know what a great teacher he is, what a great coach he is. Schematically, we cross over a lot. I tried to hire him at one point. I couldn't get him out of his contract. I was always trying to get back together with him because I think the world of him as a coach and as a teacher and a mentor. It's been great for me to actually get back and see him in college again. We were both in the NFL for a little while, but in the environment of college where he grows these guys so well and you watch the maturity that they come out with. He's awesome to be around. So
what's it like, as you mentioned, NFL to college? NFL, a little bit more of a finished product, more of a mature guy, hopefully. 23 to 33, where now you're getting some 18, 17 in some cases to hopefully 21, 22-year-olds. What has the communication been like, and is there different elements of coaching that maybe you didn't necessarily need as much at the next level?
I think when I walked into the room right away, for me it was a reality check. I was looking at one of the players and I kind of looked at him and I said, "Is your dad Duke?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Mike, I coached your dad." And I looked at another player and I was like, "Is your dad Mo?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I coached your dad too." So I think right away you flip into that mindset of like, all right, let's make sure I'm just being very clean and clear and concise with my communication so that they can go, do the job on the field that we need them to do, and really make sure I'm just starting at the bottom level, and not assuming anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd be in an NFL room and I could say a word. Guys have heard it before. They know what that technique is or they know what that coverage is, that concept, and you're moving right along pretty fast. I'm really trying to be conscious of making sure that I'm not going through too much of that without making sure that everyone's on the same page and understands it.
You somehow look younger than when you coached for the Lions. I don't know how that is, but somehow you do. But I'm wondering, when a player says that, when you find out you coach the guy's dad, does it make you, like, does your knee automatically lock up, or does your back hurt, or do you feel old? Does it affect you that way?
Both of my Achilles, they start to light up. My knee, all of it. I just, it's exciting, honestly.
Yeah.
It's great for me. It does remind me that, I've been doing this for a little while, which, is great, but I think it's cool then to go back and, see those guys, be able to talk to those guys and see so much of what I saw in their dads, in their sons. And that's really cool for me. I think, look, the game of football is about relationships. We talked about this as a defense and as a team last night. That's the biggest part of the game I think you miss, when you're done playing. And I think as a coach and as a teacher, it's one of the reasons you come back to the game. You miss the camaraderie, you miss the relationships, and it is such a special sport where you build those long-term relationships. I can go coach somebody's son, and when I see the guy that I coached 25 years ago, it's like we never left, and that's the beauty of the game that I love so much.
A lot of it's been made of how talented Caleb Downs is, not just skill-wise, but also his intelligence, his feel for the game. Getting to spend the spring and summer with him, kind of how has that evolved, and what have you kind of seen of his abilities?
I'm a tremendous football player, on the field, off the field, carries himself in such a professional manner. I think he is a guy that I look at as a young man that's being pulled in a lot of directions. As a coach, I'm protective of that, and I'm always trying to go in and say, "Hey, are you good? Do you need help with this or that?" And he handles his business. He comes in, he's tremendous at all that stuff. On the field, it's unbelievable. His instincts, he's very smart in the game. He sees things very quickly. His reaction time is just at another level. So that's the part of the player on the field you're like, okay, we can do a lot of things with this guy. He really gets the concepts of what we're trying to do.
So I know you probably went back and watched almost everything from last year, and I've talked about him. People go, what makes him so special? I'm like, well, you can talk about, his physical abilities, his mental aptitude and ability to process and communicate and recognition. One of the things I think that's incredibly impressive with him, I don't recall a time where I saw him miss an open field tackle.
Yeah.
Which that's the name of the game. I mean, you've got to be able to get guys down at some point in time.
And in his position, he's going to be in a lot of just one-on-one open field tackles. There's a lot of stress there. I mean, you got these guys coming at you. They're moving. They're running. It's fast. And his calm demeanor just, takes the same approach, has good angles. He's got the inside leg up, drives through the tackle, and finishes it. Sometimes you can take that for granted of just how good of a tackler or how good of a player can be because they do it over and over, and you can't. That's a really special tool, and he does. He'll knock them down and obviously give us another chance to have a play.
Yeah.
So you talk about coaching some of these guys 25 years ago, and you're seeing them again now. And I'm curious, you as a coach, how have you evolved over those 25 years? Are there big changes for you that you do, just the way you approach things, the way you talk to people? Is there big changes for you in that?
I think we always evolve, and I think there's some years in coaching where we're really, really good at it and some years where we're not. I think you take those ebbs and flows, but you try to learn from every experience and you try to improve. And I think players have changed for sure, and how you coach and teach them. A lot of times way back when you just tell someone to go do it and they just do it. There's not a lot of talk, not a lot of conversation. They're just, they're going to do the job or do the play. I think it's real important now to make sure we're always explaining the why. As we go into an install or we go into something that we're doing schematically, we are explaining, hey, this is why we're doing it. And then for me, I love the history of the game. So I'm always going to come back to this is where it came from, and this is why we do it now because of what we saw maybe before, and that's how it's changed, that's how it's progressed. I think it just all ties back into give guys now a picture, and they should be asking why. Why are you asking me to do this job? I think it gives them a deeper understanding, so I enjoy that part of it.
Worked under Belichick for a long time, head coach, some time in Philly. Now here with Ryan, new coach. And being a defensive coordinator with an offensive head coach, and he's trying to take the step back and kind of be involved in everything. And I mean, as you probably see, and you probably found out in Detroit, I always joke as a head coach about 50% is football and 50% is everything else, if it's even that high sometimes. But what is that relationship and why here, why now?
Yeah. It's funny, in my coaching career, it's only my second offensive head coach that I've worked for, through all of my career of coaching. So I think it's great. I really enjoy the conversation. He's a tremendous, coach, obviously teacher, instructor, motivator. It's fun for me to watch that part of it, watch him, get these guys, ready to go every single day, and just that energy that he brings is unbelievable. Very smart football coach on both sides, really all three phases he's involved in talking technique and scheme, and that conversation I really enjoy. When you work for a defensive head coach, a lot of times it's just two defensive minds trying to figure out what to do, and you're going back and forth. But to have that offensive perspective come in and say, hey, this is what gives us problems, or have you thought about this, or I'm seeing this from what you're doing, I love that back and forth. I think that's how you grow as a coach, to be able to kind of get that feedback. And Ryan's he's unbelievable seeing those things. So that relationship is it's just been great.
I'm curious how the resources and facilities here compare to those of some of the NFL teams you've been with. Is it very similar? Is it better? I'm curious about that.
Well, when we would go work guys out for the draft, every year you'd come back, to the NFL facilities, and they're great. But you kind of walk back. I mean, there was a while there in college football, it was like, the Cold War of who has the best facilities. Yeah, right. It was unbelievable. And you come back and be like, oh my God, did you see this facility? This is incredible. So I think it's good. We got a lot of players. You have a lot more players, I think in general in college coming through. So some things are just larger, because of that, the numbers part of it. But Ohio State has great facilities. We're super lucky. The indoor is amazing. The weight room, all of it is great. These fields, I mean, it's what else could you ask for? It's not like that at every NFL facility. Some of them have the space to do it. Some of them don't. Some of them are trying to get there. So, but college football usually, it's pretty impressive.
So, what is it going to be like here? It's been a long time since you've been in college, where at the conclusion of camp, I mean, you have to make tough decisions on personnel.
Yeah.
This is kind of a little bit more when you get done with camp. It's a little bit more of a celebration. Everybody's going to be here, hopefully. I mean, there shouldn't be a reason why they're not. I mean, has that crossed your mind where, not that you're not evaluating people, but you're not looking at this, especially with you being a head coach, is it a sixth receiver? Is it the eighth offensive lineman? And trying to do the calculus in your head based upon the best 55 you're trying to find.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if I've really thought about that. That 53 cut's always, it's the worst day of the year. You're having really tough conversations, so I will enjoy not having to do that. That'll be great. I think what you're still trying to do is evaluate, all right, who's your 1, who's your 2 here, who's your 4th linebacker, whatever that looks like, and then take those guys that are underneath that and really put together a good plan. What's your IEP? What's your individual education plan to make sure that you can, that you can get up there and get better and kind of improve, whether you're going from 6 to 4 or 4 to 2. We're always trying to elevate these guys and grow these guys as they go through the season.
What's the last 6 months been like for you on a personal level, coming in here, trying to move your family, getting settled in? I know Ryan kind of runs this a little bit like an NFL program where, hey, I mean, the month of June is intense. You were a part of that coming out of spring ball, but then you do get some time off, getting moved in, settled in. Were you able to get away? Kind of what's that been like?
Yeah. May was probably the biggest shock for me. Being on the road and recruiting, that was different. Haven't done that in a while. And then right into June, you're just picking up that intensity and getting back into practice. So pretty immersed in football. My family was still out east finishing up school and kind of trying to get ready for the move. So it was good. I could kind of just dive into the game. But it was good to go home. Packing is never fun. Moving is never fun. My wife is amazing. My kids have been great. It's a big transition for them. But just that's the most important thing for me, is to make sure that they're in a place where they feel like it's home, like it's safe, and that they can go kind of, be kids, and my wife can, settle in herself. So we kind of just took the last couple weeks making sure we did that, and got the house moved, and we're in a great neighborhood. We got a bunch of boxes. I don't know where any of my stuff is, but I know the boxes are at least there. We'll find it eventually, and that's really important. But my wife is really, she's the rock star behind all of that and kind of handling everything that happens at home.
Other than Caleb, when you looked at the team, when you looked at the players, was there a certain defensive player you looked at and said, "My God, I can't wait to coach that guy. We're going to do great things"? Is there anybody like that stood out to you?
Yeah. I mean, all of them. I don't.
You gotta say all of them.
But I'm gonna say this. Being a linebacker guy, right? I can go to that group right away because that's my heart and soul. But to walk in and see Sonny, first and foremost, and then Arvell, and you're looking at these two monsters going, oh, yeah, this is going to be fun. These guys are, and Peyton Pierce coming along, and we got two young guys behind them, and everybody working in that group, and James obviously does a great job of coaching them. But you walk in, you take a look at Sonny and Arvell, and you're like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like. We're ready.
Well, and that's one of the things that you get in college where they might be a little bit young, but physically you can get multiple first-round draft picks at different positions every year, where in the NFL it's like, well, we have this salary cap and we have bringing guys, but the player procurement element is a lot different. These guys here, to watch Arvell, now if you would have seen him when he got here to where he is now, the development that he has, and great players, obviously, great physical appearances and all the traits that you're looking for. But the mental aptitude of guys, I know we're getting long, we got to get you out of here, but maybe leave on this, just your impression of the mental side of what these guys have been able to digest over the last 3-4 months. Yeah,
and we put some pressure on them to learn. Like I said, some of these guys haven't played a lot of football because they had such a great, class last year that just walked out. And so it was great for me to kind of put pressure on them, see what they could learn, and then just watch them naturally get into their football instincts and do things that we talked about. And, you always go to the guys like, hey, did you really see that? Or are you just kind of playing ball? And they're like, no, I knew. And you're like, wow, okay, he's really being able to pick this up and seeing it, dissecting it, and playing fast in that mode. Those guys inside, they're doing that. Those two backers are great.
Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator for Ohio State. We appreciate the time, sir. Enjoy this first practice. I'm excited to watch and be a part of it out here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. You know how proud of you I am. You do an unbelievable job, and Bobby Carpenter is the best, and so appreciative of you guys of having me here.
You bet. Great. Thanks so much, Matt. We appreciate that time. Have a great day today.